Developmental Spelling Analysis Presentation by Alexa Kama. For the developmental spelling analysis, I worked with 4 second grade students. Students were administered the primary spelling inventory on April 9th. These students are 7 to 8 years old. Their proficiency levels are emerging and transitioning. All of these students share the same L1, being Spanish. My students come from Colombia and Mexico. Some of my students had schooling in their native countries, while some did not. Unfortunately, I just gave the second part of the DSA today and was not able to include it in my presentation. All of my students were administered Form B of the Within Word Inventory. Based on the first part of the DSA, Kevin falls under the early within word spelling stage. Some of Kevin's strengths are his ability to identify the correct initial and final sounds in a word. Even though in his writing a lot of his words are spelled incorrectly, he is able to identify the correct initial and final sound. For example, on his spelling test, he spells wait as W-A-E-T. However, he knew the initial sound was a W and the final sound was a T. He also understands short vowel sounds. He was able to correctly spell the words fan, pet, pig, rob, and gum on his spelling test. This is seen in his writing when he writes the words dog, day, can, car, big, and get. One of Kevin's struggles is vowel teams that have common long vowels. This is seen in writing when he writes clean as C-L-E-N, meal as M-E-L, and beans as B-E-N-S. This is also present in his spelling test when he spells wait as W-A-E-T and dream as D-R-E-M. He also struggles with the long vowel I-G-H. This is seen on his spelling test when he spells the word fright as F-R-I-T. This is also present in his writing when he writes night as N-I-T-E. Kevin's L1 is seen in his writing when he writes in as E-N. N in Spanish translates to in English.
Developmental spelling stage of Kelly. Based on the first part of the DSA, Kelly falls under the middle within word spelling stage. One of Kelly's strengths are her understanding of short vowel sounds. She was able to spell all of the A, E, I, and U words correctly. This is also seen in her writing samples when she writes the words fun, big, mad, and cut. On her spelling test, she was able to spell fan, pet, dig, and gum correctly. One of Kelly's struggles is the long vowel sounds with the silent E. She hears the correct vowel in the word, but does not spell the word correctly because she is not putting the E at the end. This is seen in her writing samples when she wrote the word ride, bike, outside, slides, and cone. Kelly's L1 of Spanish is seen when she spells my as M-I, because in Spanish the way to spell my is M-I. Developmental spelling stage of Alejandro. Based on the first part of the DSA, Alejandro falls under the late within word spelling stage. One of Alejandro's strengths are his ability to identify digraphs and blends in words. He was able to correctly spell words with the BL, DR, FR, SL, and ST blends. He was also able to correctly spell words with the CH, SH, and TH digraph. Although he misspelled a few of the words, he was able to correctly identify the blend and digraph. On his spelling test, the words he correctly identified were sled, stick, dream, blade, and fright. He also correctly identified the digraphs with the SH, CH during his spelling test. This is also seen in his writing when he writes the words played using the correct blend. The use of correct digraphs is seen in his writing when he writes the words much, the, shopping, with, healthy, and church, having the CH, TH, and SH digraph. One of Alejandro's struggles is the common long vowel IGH. In his writing, he writes the word fight as FIT. He also misspells the words fright as FRIT. Another struggle is the silent E making the vowel O long. This is present in his writing when he writes broke as BROK and road as ROD, omitting the silent E at the end. On his spelling test, he does this when spelling the word hope as HOP, again omitting the E at the end. Activity 1, Emergent Spelling Stage. The activity I chose for the emergent spelling stage is the Match and Sort Rhyming Pictures by BitJ. This activity is focused on phonological awareness. According to research, filling children's heads with rhyme is one of the easiest and most natural ways to focus their attention on the sounds of the English language. The words are grouped by initial sounds and vowels. This activity has sets of different picture cards that rhyme. I would give students 3 cards at a time, making 2 words rhyme and 1 word not rhyme. Students will sort and match 2 rhyming pictures. For example, I would have a picture of a cat, apple, and bat. Students would need to match the cards that have a bat and cat. Students would have to name the picture in order to understand that the 2 words rhyme. I will know that students achieve knowledge of phonological awareness if they are able to match the 2 rhyming words correctly. Activity 2, Letter Name Spelling Stage. The activity I chose for the letter name spelling stage is the Push It, Say It activity by Bear et al. This activity is a good way to teach students how to blend sounds. According to research, phoneme blending tasks call on students to listen to a sequence of separately spoken phonemes and then combine them to form a word. For this activity, students will be working with rhyme cards. One card could have a rhyme such as at on it. On the other cards, there will be consonants. First, students will be told the rhyme. Students would repeat that rhyme a few times. At. Then I would pick a consonant card. Together, we would say the sounds of that consonant. For example, the letter B. B, B, B. After saying the consonant a few times, I would push the consonant card closer to the rhyme card while still saying the consonant sounds. Then I would push them together and say the sounds together, creating the word. For example, bat. I will know if students are able to achieve knowledge of blending sounds if they are able to correctly say the word they blended together. Students must be able to say the rhyme, the consonant, and the blended word. Activity 3, Within Word Spelling Stage. The activity I chose for the Within Word Spelling Stage was the Homophone Rummy activity by Bear et al. This activity is a good way for students to be able to identify the different homophones in the English language. A homophone is a word that has the same sounds but has a different meaning and different spelling. Research states the different spellings of homophones, like bread and bread, make it easier for readers to recognize that the words have different meanings, but writers need to remember 2 spellings for the E sound. This activity is a card game using homophone cards. There will be 26 different homophone pairs, so 52 cards total. Each student is dealt 7 cards. First, students see if they have an already existing pair, example, by, by, and by, buy, and match them. Once students have a match, students must give the meaning of each word and use each word in a sentence. After students look at the initial cards they are dealt, there are 2 piles of cards students can choose from. Students are able to put cards in a discard pile if they do not have any matches. If a student takes a card from the discard pile, then all of the cards under are taken too. A student can challenge another student if they disagree with the definition of that spelling. The challenger then looks up the definition in the dictionary to see who was correct, and the student correct then gets to keep that pair. The game is over when someone runs out of cards and yells, "Rummy." Each player's pairs get added up, and the person with the greatest amount of pairs wins. I will know if students are able to achieve knowledge of homophones if students match 2 correct homophones. I will also know if students achieve knowledge of homophones if students identified the correct meaning of each word, as well as use the word in the right context in a sentence. Activity 4, Syllable and Affixes/Syllable Junctures. The activity I chose for the syllable and affixes/syllable junctures spelling stage was the Double Scoop activity by Bear et al. This activity helps students review and master consonant doubling and E-drop when adding inflectional endings. One challenge that students face when adding inflectional endings is whether or not they have to double the consonant. Research states basic doubling rule is that when a suffix beginning with a vowel is added to a base word containing a single vowel, followed by a single consonant, example shop, double the final consonant, making shopping 2 P's and shopped 2 P's. An easier way to think of this is 1 syllable, 1 vowel, 1 consonant, double it. For this activity, there are sentences written on a card. The sentence contains words that have double consonants. One student reads the sentence while the other student must spell the word that is underlined. The student writes down the spelling of the word they are told, underlined word for reader. If they spell the word correct, they get to spin the spinner and move ahead how many spaces they land on. Whichever student gets to the double dip first wins the game. I will know if my students are able to achieve knowledge of consonant doubling and e-dropping for inflectional endings if they are able to correctly spell the words given to them.